College. Students these days spend hours thinking about it. We gear our entire high school lives towards it. After all the effort that we put in, you'd think that the process to get into college would be fair. But movements like affirmative action have severely inhibited this fairness. Affirmative action is a consideration of factors like race when determining admissions, and it was established through an executive order by President Kennedy with the intention of improving chances of admissions for minorities. It has become both obsolete in both mandate and philosophy, and in this wholly integrated society, it is unfairly balanced, since it addresses race rather than socioeconomic status. Now we find that the consideration of race in college acceptances is a major detriment to the ideas of equal opportunity that have long been held sacred in America. Firstly, when you prioritize the education of one race, it is providing those of different ethnicities with an unequal opportunity. We can see this in the Supreme Court case, University of California v. Allen Back. Allen Back was a student who performed equally well as another student of a different race, but he was denied admissions on the basis of affirmative action. It was simply because of his skin color that he was denied admission to the University of California. Now, this Supreme Court case directly shows that affirmative action is denying students of equal aptitude the opportunity simply because of the racial difference. Now, there are several who say, contrary, that poverty and race are entirely correlated. We need affirmative action because by aiding those of different skin colors, we are aiding those who are socioeconomically poor. But we've seen in several studies that this oftentimes is not true. According to Haley Potter, an associate with the Century Foundation, 7 out of 11 public flagship universities for which data was available, enrollment of African American and Latino students under race-neutral admissions reached or exceeded the level seen in the year before the ban. Even after affirmative action was placed into the system, the admission rates of African American students and Latino students, and several other minority groups, either increased or maintained its previous ratings. So we've seen through the statistic that affirmative action is actually, and the admissions of minorities isn't actually affected when the affirmative action is taken out of the system. And there are several detriments to affirmative action, which is why we need to get rid of it here and now. Secondly, by specifically targeting students by race, we are presenting the notion that race is more important than a student's intelligence or determination. College must be intrinsically fair, or at least the admission into it. We must base the admission solely on aptitude, because other factors such as race or other physical factors don't determine a student's aptitude. They don't affect it in any way. So when we take other factors such as race, such as menial things such as height, weight, unnecessary, unrelated, uncorrelated things, we're not actually choosing students based on their aptitude. We're picking them based on a group we want to see. This is, of course, supported by an editorial piece for the LA Times, which says, instead of deciding based on misinformation or fear or worrying about narrow group interests, we can have a more principled conversation about whether a racially diverse college-educated population is important for a stable and equitable California. Another quote by Bill Frezza at Forbes magazine says that, how can citizen activists help fulfill Martin Luther King's dream that all our children will be judged not by the color of their skin but by the content of their character, if we go through with affirmative action? So, since race is currently a factor in determining admissions, we are considering it as a direct impact upon the aptitude of potential admissions. We are considering race a factor that directly correlates towards aptitude, and that is intrinsically wrong. The philosophy and the basic ideology of that concept is intrinsically wrong. And that's what people like Bill Frezza or the LA Times have been for so long talking about, denouncing about affirmative action. In conclusion, by removing affirmative action, we can implement new and better systems that address poverty level rather than race, and as a result, we can provide an equal opportunity for all students. We can improve need-based admissions and get rid of an obsolete and inefficient system. We've seen newer and better systems in states like California, Texas, Florida, states that have gotten rid of affirmative action, and instead of catering to race, we cater to socioeconomic status, because the two are no longer correlated. We can have poor white students or poor Asian students and rich minority students, and both of these are unfairly affected by the affirmative action system. New systems that could directly cater to socioeconomic status are much better for these states and overall for a nation. So the call to action for students now is that there have been new legislations to reinstate affirmative action in the 8 states where it has been banned. States like Oregon, California, Texas, Florida. These new legislations have been doing their best to reinstate affirmative action, and there have been several online petitions and protests for these legislations. As students and sons and daughters of voters, we can do our best to stop the new legislations by signing online petitions, by protesting in the states where this legislation is trying to be passed. Affirmative action is the kind of imbalance that takes a nation to fix. With your help, we can begin the process. Thank you.